So, welcome everybody to another edition of Let's Talk. I'm your host for tonight, and my name is Craig Blanchett, and I'm an independent certified Optavia coach. Been working with Optavia for about 15 years, and prior to that, I was a professional athlete in 1988. Went to the Olympic Games and actually earned a bronze medal. So that's kind of fun. So we're talking about going to your own personal Olympics. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and the title of that webinar was called Unstuck, and it was getting unstuck. And this is kind of the part two of that because we've had a little bit of life happen and a little bit of time gap. So we're going to be sharing a little bit about that. First of all, we want to talk a little bit about defining some terms because we talked about when you're stuck. What does it mean to be actually stuck? And the terms that I came up with are if you've never achieved your goal weight. So maybe you started, you had a goal, I want to get down, I want to drop this amount of weight, and you've maybe lost 20 to 30% of the weight, but you haven't been able to move beyond that. Or another term, another way you can define that is you got all the way, you lost 100% of what you wanted to lose, but you've gained more than 10 pounds back. 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe you've gained it all back, right? And you didn't want that. Actually, we can just take a quick poll. I polled everybody on the planet and I said, every time that you lose weight, who wants to gain it back? And everybody unanimously said there was nobody that said they wanted to, actually. We couldn't find even one person that said yes. I'd love to lose my weight and gain it back over and over and over again, but that's what happens. Another way that you might be thinking about whether you're stuck is if you have recurring day ones and you start off and you're like, I'm going to hit it today, and it's a day one. And oh, something happened, and the next Monday comes along, and I'm going to hit it again, day one, right? So if you're in that framework and you have identified yourself as being stuck, it's good to know. It's good to actually just have clarity on where you are. The good thing is you don't have to stay there. We're going to show you the process, and it's not going to happen. You're not going to get unstuck likely by the end of this webinar, but it's going to give you some information that will help you think differently, you'll become unstuck over time. It is definitely a process. So we're going to bring up a little poll now. And so personal updates since the last time we talked, or you determine whatever your last time was. Um, have you made progress in your Olympic training? Are you at the same place or have you lost some ground? Maybe you gave up again. I don't know where you're at for you, but which of those are you at? So come back to your computer and vote so we can see where you're at since our last. I know a lot of you have gone to attend the win calls, and some of you were really excited when we talked about this personal Olympics training, and then some things happened, and you gave up or you settled or whatever. So we got about 5 more seconds left on the poll. There looks like some of you are voting in the chat as well. So we have the results. So look at that progress. 48% has made progress. Good job, you guys. 38% is in the same place and 15% have lost some ground. So wow, thank you for those details. My entire rest of my presentation doesn't make any sense now with those numbers. So it was nice to see you all tonight, and we'll see you next week. Just kidding. Um, Let's move to this next slide. Some of the ideas here are some clues that you might have that maybe you've given up too soon. If you have readjusted your goals and said, I'm fine. I heard this on some of the win calls. Oh, I'm fine. It's okay that I didn't make it to my goal. Another one might be, well, I decided to change my goal and I want to focus more on my personality maybe than your physical goal that you had set. It's not about the number. I hear that a lot. It's not about the number. Well, it's not about the number. It's not only about the number, but numbers do have meaning and value to them. And next up, well, I'll focus when things are less hectic. Anybody have that? You have some life going on, some craziness going on, and so you're like, when everything is just right, then I'll be able to get into my Olympic training. Well, the Olympics are not going to wait for you. And then I've heard another one people say, I'm focusing on inches, not weight. And so these are all some clues that you may be settling, or you may be stuck, or you may be coming to the end of your resources that you have inside your own skill sets, and you need to reach out and learn some new skill sets. Next slide here we have is, it's also important that the number on the scale is just a number about how much you weigh, because your total weight is only just what you weigh. But you're measuring beyond the scale, getting a simple $30 scale that does body composition testing can give you so much more information. So it's not just a number on the scale, but it's how is that number showing up? Am I gaining lean and losing muscle? Well, that means the number stays the same, but that is good information to have, right? And some people will lose a lot of weight, but they also lose a lot of muscle. And so it's a term called skinny obese, right? And that can happen with some of these miracle weight loss drugs. They can be the opposite of miracles, they can be quite devastating as well. And you think about the idea of being thin and fat, or thin and fluffy, versus light, lean, and strong. Think about that. Just the difference in how those feel. And so here's a quote that we came up with, Barb and I, and we'll bring on my first guest here in a second. But if you've chosen to give up, or you've chosen to change your goals, or you're struggling, remember that you're not at the Olympics yet. You're in training for the Olympics. It can take years to train and actually make it to the Olympics, right? So I'm gonna bring on my first guest, Barb. And so Barb, we were actually talking about that today. And you said, remember, we're not there yet. We're still in training. And this is a fantastic before and now photo of Barb. Those are two different people. Same DNA, very different, very different. So welcome tonight, Barb.
Hello.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your progress, because you're starting to track your progress. And I know last time we talked, you remind us how much weight you had to lose, and then kind of give us a little update on where you're at with that.
Well, since our last update, I had 7 pounds to lose, I believe, and I have 3 more to go.
Okay. Wow. Great
Yes.
progress. Fantastic progress. And has it been, so you talked to me earlier today, and we talked about the when the number doesn't move emotionally, it's different for you now. Explain that to the folks that are listening.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So when I was first in Olympic training, and Craig said, track it and write down the data. And I would look at the scale every day, and it would go up a little bit, like zero point 0.5 or 1 pound, and then it would go down by 3, and then it would go up. And it was explained to me that that's because my body's changing and I need to watch the 7-day differential. Well, anyways, eventually, after suffering through looking at those numbers every day, now I just look at it as data, and I
Mm.
could care less if it goes up or down. Yes, it's
Yes.
like it's getting there and it's fine. It's moving the right direction. It feels good.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things too that you said, and I'll just can clarify, it's not that you care less, but it emotionally doesn't devastate you, because
Right.
it's data that's moving you in the right direction. And uh, share if this is true for you. In the past, when you didn't know how to make it go in the right direction, no matter what you tried, now it's different. Explain the difference there emotionally for you, and practically for you.
Well, I didn't know why it wasn't moving until it was told by you to me that, Barb, maybe you're just not quite measuring and your foods and weighing your foods, and maybe you're having an extra fueling once in a while, or maybe, And so it hit me and I was like, well, yeah, that is what I've been doing. And then I went, wow, do I really want to get there? And then you motivated me and I really want to get there. So emotionally, now I'm like going for the gold.
Yep. Well, and two, I want you to share with like before when the numbers before you even knew about Optavia and the number
Mhm.
on the scale wasn't going in the right direction, you tried whatever you knew, you pulled out all your tools and you threw them at the problem and nothing fixed it. And so
Yeah,
the measuring and being on the scale was emotionally uncomfortable for you. But
yeah.
now you've lost a lot of weight, significant weight with your Optavia program. How much actually were you at total?
I was 265 and now today I'm at 139.
Okay. So there you go. You do the math, but
I
it's over
can't.
100. Yeah, don't you do the math, but whoever's
It's a
listening, you
lot.
can do the math. It's a big number, right? And
Yeah,
literally you're transforming. But I loved what you said earlier today because you said, "Well, I have the data, but I'm not emotionally beating myself up or I'm not emotionally negatively connected to it." But
right.
you also said that um it was going to move and you were going to become and learn whatever you needed to make it move.
100%.
Yeah,
And
so explain that.
well, so I know that it does move because I did lose all the weight and I know how to do that. I know how to make that happen. So I have more confidence in the fact that I know it's going to move.
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
going to keep moving it. I don't need to worry about, oh my gosh, it's not going to move. And maybe I better just give up and quit. And it's like, nope, I'm going for the gold.
Well, and the I love that because the reality is for those of you that maybe thought, "Oh, I'm training for my personal Olympics and all this is great." And then you had some skills that were missing and some life and whatever the excuse was. You were really excited on that thing. And then now we're a few weeks later, so as you and you've made progress. You're still not quite there yet, but you've made
Right.
progress. And the key to it is if you're stuck, for those that are watching this that are stuck in that it you haven't made progress, it's not that I want you to hear me real clearly. You are not one of a kind broken. You're actually pretty normal. And guess what? When you're normal, it means the fix is a pretty normal fix. It's easy to find. If you're one of a kind broken, then it's a one of a kind fix. Maybe it doesn't even exist. But we are not one of a kind broken. We are commonly broken and we are commonly building skills. And the skills that we develop are going to move us to where we want to go. And Barb knows that she's training for the Olympics. She's in training. The Olympics aren't here yet. And so she's going to keep working at it. And we've got a few tips at the very end that we'll discuss with you um, towards the end about some of the things to look for if the scale's not moving. A few tips you can do. So thanks, Bob. We're going to bring on our next guest here. This is Mike and Amy Mills. You guys recognize them probably from last time, and so they are chasing after this goal, right? And so they're like in their own kind of personal Olympics, but they're actually in a competition. So we've got some great before and after photos, and there's the gun show, and of course the pretty Amy, and all the great stuff. You can't see your smile so good. Your phone's in the way, but I guess that's all right, right? So tell us a little bit about an update on you guys because you guys are doing a competition and you've been single-minded, I would say, about this competition. So talk us through a little bit of those details and how you've kind of kept your focus through this.
Yes, we are training for a fitness competition, and that will be on June
June
21st. And so we actually were officially starting on the last day that we were on Let's Talk, and that was March 3rd.
Yes.
And so since then, we have been following the process, right? We have it laid out. And, our focus is on, what we call controlling the controllables. And what we can control is following our plan for each day as that relates to our nutrition, our fitness, and our mindset. and the things
Big
that we're
one.
working on there. And since then, some life has happened. We had a child in a motocross accident and broken collarbone, um, and Amy's mother has been in the hospital. And those were typically seasons in our life before where we got a hall pass, right?
Or
Um,
it might have derailed us a
yeah,
little
yeah, we got
bit.
like it was
Honestly.
it was acceptable. It was okay at that point
Yeah.
to but we stayed focused on the objective, right?
Mhm.
And really it's the work that we started doing 6.5 years ago. So those of you that are on like day one of your 5-in-1, those are the skills that are serving us today,
Absolutely.
right?
Hmm.
Fueling our body 6 times a day, learning the emotional management skills. We were talking about this the other day. You know, we would not have been equipped mentally and emotionally to navigate a journey like this if it wasn't for all that we learned in the Habits of Health system
Hmm.
and being able to experience those things and navigate those things
Yeah.
and realizing that we can feel those feelings and that's great. And changing our nutrition is not going to change those circumstances in any way, shape, or form. Changing our nutrition is not going to help Amy's mom heal faster or our son heal faster. It's just going to derail us from our goals.
Yeah, I kind of say the nutrition part is kind of wash, rinse, repeat every day. It's the same thing, wash, rinse, repeat. The same thing with our other programs in Optavia too. And the other three components have really been the part that we lean into the most as we're going through these phases, just like we did 6.5 years ago. They were the things we leaned into. Our coach, our community, and the Habits of Health system. Every day it shows up different. So one of those three is something I'm doing every single day.
Yeah. I love it. I was thinking about, showing up to the competition and imagine this is the visual. So you show up to the competition and you say, I'm not quite in the shape I wanted to be in, because my son was in this thing and this other thing happened and my mom, and they're going to go, okay, great, good for you. Less competition because you didn't work out the stuff, right? When I hear about one of my competitors that had some challenges, I mean, as a human being, yeah, I'm sorry for going through those challenges, but as a competitor, I'm thinking I got an edge because I learned over time not to let those get in the way of my performance. And so when you're grading yourself, when you're in your own personal Olympics, the excuses really, they're not that they're not that satisfying. When you first say them, they might be kind of satisfying, but afterwards, then you have to settle with the regret of not doing it, right? And so you guys are really clear. You said some things, and I got this slide that Chris will bring up here. You talked about some of these things earlier today when we spoke, and one of them was predetermined or premeditated eating. And talk us through some of these concepts.
Yeah, it is such a powerful tool, I believe,
Mhm.
because in reality, the decisions have already been made before we enter into any situation, any circumstances. In a very practical sense, if you're going to a restaurant, making the decision in advance is very powerful because when you walk in there, there's going to be smells, there's going to be pictures, there's going to be people carrying somebody else their food. But if it's predetermined, like if the decision was made in advance before
Mhm.
you walked in there, you already know what you're going to do. And so for us, our decision, it's already made, right? The nutritional plan is already laid out. I'm not waking up in the morning thinking, I wonder what I'm going to eat today, or I wonder what my decision's going to be for lunch. I
Yeah.
wonder what I'm going to have for. No, it's already been pre-decided. It's predetermined. My goal is really just to execute the plan. Execute the plan. So That's really the power. And honestly, I want to share it like this. It's so much easier way to live.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
really,
free.
I
It
don't have this little conversation going in my mind all the time, like, well, I want to do this or I'm supposed to do that, but I really feel like doing this. And oh, look at that. That really looks good. Like that conversation isn't happening because the decision was already made.
Or
and
when
we
you get there and you say, "Well, let's just see how it goes."
Yeah.
There's another clue that maybe you don't have a really clear picture of what you want, and maybe you don't have a really clear plan.
Mm.
Someone once said, 100% is way easier than 99%. And
Yeah.
so, Amy, go ahead and talk about that.
Well, we made, the decision when we decided it wasn't just us, it was a family decision. And I feel like on any health decision, it's always a family decision. So even their meals look a little different. But they know that mom and dad are doing these things and what's important. And, people in our life know that. So then when we do show up, it's not as awkward and our kids are on board too, because they know exactly where we want to go.
Yeah.
Well, when you
And
went out to that restaurant, so this is really powerful. Did, and I know the answer, but Mike, you knew Amy's strategy for what she was going to eat and what she wasn't going to eat. It wasn't
Yeah.
all no's. There was some yeses. There was some clear yeses and some clear no's. And Amy, you knew Mike's plan, right?
Mhm.
Clue, another clue. Don't go in having your plan be a secret. Tell somebody else. Because what will happen is if you have a twinge of changing your decision, and you look over at the other person's eye. Imagine if Mike goes, "Let's go ahead and get those." Someone said Texas Roadhouse rolls. By the way, those always look way better than they taste. I don't know, but I eat them and I'm always disappointed. But if I were to reach out for the roll, or they said, "Would you like bread brought to the table?" And if I said yes, my wife would look at me like, "Did you change your mind? Did you? What's going on here? Is this?" I thought you had already told me. So it's an integrity thing for me when I tell her what my plan is and I don't change it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And they understand that too.
It's it's very effective. There's another clue. Success leaves clues and
Mm,
struggling also leaves clues. And you guys, if you're paying attention, you'll know what struggling looks like and feels like, but you'll also have a glimpse of what success, because we've all been successful at something, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and thinking about that, as you know, we have three teenagers,
mhm.
and Amy and I have decided to join the Mike and Amy Olympics.
That's right.
But our three teenagers, they're not on an Olympic journey, right? And that's okay, right? But as a family, we all understand the objective. They know where we're going.
Mhm.
They know how important it is to us, and we understand that they didn't make that choice. So some of you, are probably in that same situation. You've made a decision to go for the Olympics, but maybe there's other people within your household that haven't made that decision. And just knowing that and being able to think from that framework
Yeah.
is really empowering, because when you see them doing something different, it's like, oh, well, they're not training
Doing
for
that.
the Olympics,
Yeah.
but we are. So that makes total sense that they would be making that decision.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that sometimes when we see someone going for it, we can think, man, I wish everything would just line up in my life right so that could happen too.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
that's just why I wanted to share that there's bad stuff happening, and that's okay. Life didn't decide to go on hold so that we could go on our Mike and Amy Olympic pursuit.
right. I love that. I love that. Let's so I got a couple photos here that I want to share with the gang about how it's going. I saw this one with you on Facebook the other day and I was like, well, look at all those shadows. I like call them shadows. All the little shadows, and the look at Amy's got her tricep shadow hanging out. Ah, bang, and it's popping, right? And the gun show, just great. So it looks like things are going good, and you had a good plan. You're sticking to it, and it's coming together for you. This last slide here is really great. So sometimes we set goals in our lives, right? And sometimes say, "Oh, I have this goal for this thing I want." And there's something different about wanting a goal to happen to you versus making it happen to you, right? Oh, I want to lose some weight. Well, you hope weight loss happens to you, but what are you going to do to make it happen and get where you want to go? And so this has been a fantastic time here. I want to give you both a little opportunity to share like some words of wisdom or like what is the thing that's keeping you guys moving forward. We'll start with Barb.
Oh, the thing that's keeping me moving forward is because I want to go to the Olympics, Craig.
Yep. Yep.
I'm going there. I can't wait. I'm
And
super
and
excited.
earlier today, Barb and I were talking about she's learning to listen for the voice of her future Olympic self,
Yes.
and she's learning to hear the voice through all of the noise. And that person is saying, "Barb, you got this." But there's a lot of life noise happening, right? I know you can relate to that, right? And
Absolutely.
we were talking earlier and she was saying that she's still learning. I said, but just because you know there's a future version of yourself calling for you doesn't mean you've learned, already know that voice and you can hear it, especially amongst the crowd. And so then
Right.
she said, well, that's because I'm in training. I'm not there yet. And I was like, yeah. So good. It's so good. So how about you, Mike and Amy?
For me, I visualize, because there's a goal that's gonna happen, but I also visualize what's gonna happen after that goal, because that's not the end point. And, so for me, it's called lead from the future, act in the now. And Dr. A talks about this often. And knowing that, yes, I'm going for that goal, but yet even when it's done, I'm at a different level and I'm not going back.
And that's a perfect segue because one of our, not next week, but in the future, we're going to have a segment on um, post event blues,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because you get to the event that you've been single minded. Imagine the day after the Olympics.
Hmm.
I'll just let you know your life has little meaning.
Mhm.
I know that was what it's for me. I'm like, oh, I got nothing to live for, because I spent years and years training for that 3.5 minute race, years training for 3.5 minutes, right? And so you guys too, we'll talk about this in the future in another segment where we talk about what do you do after the event? And there's a clue, pick another event. Right. So it's been my privilege to have you guys and to showcase your guys' journey and your story. And we're looking forward to hearing about how your Olympic training and how your guys' competition actually goes. So hopefully, guys, you will join us next week as we have our Let's Talk segment. And this one is all around winning the sugar game, right? Holiday treats and you. How do we manage those things that come along? One simple strategy for that is proximity, and that's a little tip, but we'll go into that more in the next week. And of course, all of these community time webinars are in a massive library, and you can go and select the episode that you want that speaks to you. But we've got a nice library on YouTube, on Spotify. We have them in podcast form so you can get them wherever you get those kinds of things. So I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you to my guests who were able to just share this amazing journey that you're on. And we'll see you next time on Let's Talk.